Sometimes the most fascinating mysteries aren't buried in some dusty old book. Sometimes they're quietly growing in a greenhouse. Today, we're diving into a botanical case file that took 2 decades and a trip across the globe to solve, all to answer one simple question.
So, this is it. This is our plant. For 20 long years, its owner, a guy named Michael Greulich, he knew it was special. See, he bought it under one name, but as it grew, it became obvious it was something else entirely. The question was simple enough. What is this thing? Well, the answer turned out to be anything but.
So the story kicks off pretty quietly back in 1994. 2 small agave plants bought in Germany. And for almost 20 years, they just grew. But their leaves kept getting wider and wider, looking less and less like the name on their label. The puzzle just sat there, unsolved, until 2013, when a trip to Mexico completely blew the case wide open.
Okay, and this is where the whole story just takes a wild turn. We're leaving that quiet German greenhouse and heading to the rugged, sun-baked hills of southern Mexico. This is where the first real breakthrough happened, and it was totally by accident.
Here's the thing, Greulich wasn't even looking for his mystery plant. He was way down in Oaxaca, on the hunt for a completely different species called Agave isthmensis. So his eyes were scanning the hillsides near this town Santiago la Olaga, but he was focused on a totally different prize.
And then he saw it. Not the plant he was looking for, but something else. A much bigger agave sending this absolutely massive flower stalk way up into the air. And even from a distance, there was something about it that just felt familiar. He knew right then he had to get a closer look.
And that's when it all clicked into place. As he got closer, it hit him. The plants growing wild on this remote hillside were a dead ringer for the mystery agave sitting back in his collection. After 20 years, he had just accidentally stumbled right into their native home. Unbelievable.
So, finding the plant in the wild, that was the first big break. But now came the real detective work, decoding all the clues written on the plant itself to finally, officially, confirm its identity.
The first and most obvious clue was just the sheer width of these leaves. I mean, they were enormous, reaching up to 25 centimeters. That's about 10 inches across. You can really get a sense of how chunky they are against his hand there. This was the exact same feature that had made his plants back home so unusual.
All right, for the second clue, we've got to learn a new word, mammillin. Now, these aren't just your typical teeth or spines along the edge of the leaf. No, they are these large, fleshy, rounded bumps that give the whole leaf margin this unique, wavy-looking structure. And this feature is a huge piece of the puzzle.
And what's so cool is just how different these mammillina can be. On the same plant, or even just across the whole population, some are really rounded, others are more angular. It creates this beautiful and really distinctive scalloped edge. It's like a fingerprint for the plants in this one specific spot.
So let's build a little profile here, based on all the evidence from the field. We're looking at a plant that's about 60 to 80 centimeters wide. It's got about 20 to 30 of those incredibly broad leaves. The color is this pale, kind of chalky gray blue. And when it finally decides to flower, that stalk can tower up to 3 meters tall. Okay, so we have a clear profile of our plant. The next step is absolutely crucial for any good detective. You have to compare your evidence to your number one suspect.
And in this case, the prime suspect was a species called Agave potatorum. It's a really close relative, and it's famous for being super variable, which means it gets confused with other species all the time. The challenge was to prove, once and for all, that Greulich's plant was something else entirely.
And wow, when you put them side by side like this, the difference just pops. On the left, that's our plant, now identified as Agave seemanniana. It has this more open shape with fewer, much broader leaves. Now look at the Agave potatorum on the right. It's way denser, with a lot more leaves, and they're much narrower. The whole vibe is just completely different.
The evidence gets even stronger when we zoom in on the flowers. The buds of our seemanniana on the left are rounded, kind of tongue-shaped, but the potatorum buds on the right, they're really pointy, and they have this reddish-purple color that our plant just doesn't have at all.
And here it is, the final proof. This table just lays it all out. When you compare them feature by feature, the leaf count, the leaf edge, the flower petals, the color, it is an open and shut case. The mystery plant from the greenhouse is, without a single doubt, a very specific form of Agave seemanniana. Case closed.
Or is it? Just when you think the whole thing is wrapped up, the plot thickens. Turns out, solving the identity of this one plant from Oaxaca just opens up a whole new mystery about the species itself.
So yeah, the identity of Greulich's plant is settled, but it turns out that Agave seemanniana is a true shapeshifter. Across its huge home range in Central America, this one single species wears all these different masks, adapting its look to survive in all sorts of different places.
For example, let's head south to Chiapas, Mexico. Here, we find a subspecies they call pygmachiana. It's still semiana, but as you can see, the leaves are way narrower than that super broad-leafed form we saw back in Oaxaca.
Also in Chiapas, you can find another version with a totally different life strategy. Unlike the Oaxaca form, which almost never makes offsets, this one sends out little pups all the time, creating these big clusters of plants. Same species, just a different way of making a family.
Now for the most dramatic transformation of all. Let's go all the way to Honduras. Check this out. The plants here have this incredible, intense blue color, and their leaf edges are almost totally smooth. None of those huge, wavy mamelon we saw in Oaxaca. I mean, it barely even looks like the same species, but it is.
What this really shows us is evolution in action. From those broad, wavy leaves in Oaxaca to the narrow ones in Chiapas, and then these smooth blue forms way down south. We're literally watching one single species, Agave seemanniana, radically change its appearance to master the unique conditions of each place it calls home.
You know, this whole 20-year journey started with one weird plant in a pot, and it ended up giving us this much deeper appreciation for the absolutely staggering diversity of life. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What other incredible stories and unsolved mysteries are out there, just hiding in plain sight, waiting for someone to get curious and ask the right question?